Dear beloved friend, the dawn has barely touched the horizon, and yet the air already carries a sacred hush. The sky is painted with soft colors that only the early morning can reveal, a gentle mixture of fading darkness and rising light. The earth is quiet, as if holding its breath. In this silence, the heart is invited to listen more closely, not only to the sounds of creation waking up, but also to the whisper of eternity. Morning, in its first fragile light, is not just another part of the day. It is the threshold of promise, a time when heaven feels near and the soul is most open to encounter the presence of God. Perhaps you have felt the weight of nights that seemed endless. Maybe you have carried fears that pressed against your chest like heavy stones, or sorrow that would not loosen its grip. Imagine for a moment someone sitting awake in those long hours before sunrise. Their body is weary, their mind restless, and their heart broken. A loved one has been lost, or a dream has slipped away, or a diagnosis has brought unexpected fear. The room feels too quiet, the silence too loud. They try to distract themselves, but every attempt only leads back to the ache inside. Tears have dried on the pillow, yet the pain refuses to leave. In that fragile state, when the night is nearly gone but morning has not fully arrived, the soul cries out for something more, something beyond human strength. Many of us have been in that place. We know what it is to wrestle with invisible battles, to feel trapped by mistakes, to fear the unknown future. And yet, history and scripture remind us that some of the greatest breakthroughs have come in the stillness of night and the quiet of dawn. It was at midnight that God struck down the chains of Israel's bondage and opened the way to freedom. It was in the early hours that Paul and Silas sang hymns in prison, and the doors were shaken open. When the world sleeps, heaven often moves in unseen ways. The morning carries a mystery, a rhythm set by the Creator, a reminder that light always follows darkness. This is why we gather here, in these early moments, not simply to speak words into the air, but to step into a living dialogue with the one who knows us completely. Prayer is not only a ritual, it is a lifeline. It is the breath of the soul, the place where weakness is exchanged for strength, where sorrow becomes seed for joy, where fear is broken by faith. Through prayer, chains are shattered, storms are calmed, and hope is reborn. And through prayer, we discover not only who God is, but also who we are meant to be in Him. The journey we are about to begin is not a casual conversation. It is a pilgrimage of the heart across 24 chapters, each one designed to meet you where you are and gently guide you deeper into God's presence. You may begin this journey feeling numb, restless, or uncertain, but with every word you will be invited to move closer toward healing, courage, and peace. These prayers are not written to impress the mind, but to awaken the spirit. They are meant to draw you out of isolation and into communion, to lead you from the shadows into the light of morning. As you listen, do not rush. Let the words settle. Let the silence between sentences breathe. Let your own heart speak as much as your lips. God is not looking for perfect language, but for honest surrender. He is near to the brokenhearted. He listens to the faintest whisper, and He responds to the cry of faith. The invitation is simple yet profound, to open your heart in these sacred hours and allow the Creator to meet you where no one else can. So, beloved friend, take a deep breath. Feel the quiet strength of the morning around you. You are not alone in this space. Across generations and nations, countless souls have risen in these hours to pray, to hope, and to seek. You now join that unbroken chain of faith, the same God who split seas, who shut the mouths of lions, who comforted the lonely and restored the broken, is listening to you today. This is the holy moment you have been called into. Let your guard fall. Let your heart soften. Step forward with courage, for the one who holds the universe also holds your story. The night has passed, the dawn has come, and the hour of prayer has arrived. Dear Heavenly Father, in this fragile stillness of the morning, I come before you with a heart that feels both heavy and hopeful. The night has passed, but its shadows still linger inside me. I wake in the quiet before the world stirs, and in that silence I feel the weight of my own weakness. Sometimes I do not know what to say or how to begin. My soul feels numb, my thoughts scattered, my strength thin. Yet I believe that even this trembling beginning matters to you, because you see beyond my silence. You hear even the unspoken cries of my heart. I lift my eyes to the dim light of dawn, and I am reminded that every sunrise is a gentle promise. The darkness is never the final word. The slow rising of light over the horizon tells me that hope does not rush, but it does arrive. Father, I confess that many times I have carried the weight of yesterday into today. I hold on to regrets that should have been released. I let fear cloud my sight. I allow discouragement to whisper louder than faith. But now, in these sacred hours, I bring all of it to you. My tiredness, my numbness, my confusion, my longing, all of it belongs to you. Father, I sense that in this stillness you are closer than I realize. The silence of the early morning is not empty. It is filled with your presence waiting for me to notice. Like the soft wind brushing through the trees, like the first bird daring to sing while the world still sleeps, your spirit moves gently within me. You invite me to awaken not only my body but my soul. You call me to lift my eyes from the dust and fix them on your face. I want to answer that call. I want to lean into the nearness of your love and allow this day to begin not with fear but with faith. I admit that sometimes my prayers feel fragile, like whispered words carried by uncertain breath. Yet I also know that you receive them with compassion. Even when my faith feels small, you honor it. Even when my words are broken, you understand them. So here I stand in the early light, offering what I have. It may not be eloquent, but it is real. I long to know you more deeply. I long to see your hand steady me when I stumble. I long to feel your presence wrap around me like the comfort of dawn after a restless night. Father, let this morning mark a turning point. Let the numbness of my soul begin to thaw. Where there has been confusion, bring clarity. Where there has been emptiness, pour in your fullness. Where there has been heaviness, lift the burden. Where there has been silence, let me hear the whisper of your peace. I do not want to move through this day numb to your goodness. I want to be awake to every sign of grace, attentive to every glimpse of your love. As the first rays of light touch the earth, let them also touch the hidden corners of my heart. Shine into the places I have ignored, the places where I have hidden my pain or my fear. Reveal what needs to be surrendered, and give me the courage to lay it down. Like a flower slowly opening to the sun, let my heart unfurl before you. Teach me to notice the beauty of small beginnings, the holiness of simple moments, the wonder of your presence woven quietly into ordinary life. Father, I ask that you awaken my senses to see you in everything today. In the laughter of a child, in the kindness of a stranger, in the stillness of my own breath, let me recognize you. Break through the haze of distraction and awaken me to the miracle of being alive, of being loved, of being known by you. I confess that it is easy to drift through hours without awareness, to live half awake. But I do not want to miss what you are doing. I want to walk through this day with eyes wide open, with a heart tuned to your voice. So I begin here, in this early hour, by opening myself to you. I acknowledge my frailty, and I welcome your strength. I confess my numbness, and I welcome your spirit to awaken me. I give you the first breath of this day, the first thoughts of this morning, the first stirrings of my heart. May this offering, though simple, be pleasing to you. Father, let this chapter of prayer be the seed of transformation. Let today not be a repetition of yesterday's fears, but the unfolding of new faith. Let the silence that once felt heavy become the silence where I meet you most clearly. Let the numbness that once felt suffocating become the soil where your spirit plants life again. I am not here by accident. You have awakened me for a reason, and though I may not see the full picture yet, I trust that you are leading me into it. As I linger in this quiet, I realize that awakening is not only about rising from sleep, but about rising into purpose. You are calling me to notice your mercy in the morning light, to notice your strength in my weakness, to notice your hand guiding me even when I cannot see the path ahead. This awakening is not loud or dramatic. It is tender, steady, certain. Like the dawn itself, it comes slowly but surely. And as the light grows stronger, so does my trust. So I rest here in this beginning, aware that you are with me, grateful that you see me, hopeful that you will carry me through this day. My soul may have begun numb, but already it feels the warmth of your nearness. Already it stirs with the promise of renewal. And as I take the next breath, I choose to believe that this day will not be wasted, because it begins with you. Father, as the light of morning grows stronger, I feel the shift within me from simply awakening to truly crying out. Chapter by chapter, prayer becomes less of a quiet noticing and more of a desperate reaching. I come to you not as someone who has strength of their own, but as one who is utterly dependent on you for every breath, every step, every flicker of hope. If in the stillness I learn to notice you, then now in this moment I choose to pour out the depths of my soul without reservation. Father, I acknowledge how fragile my heart can be. There are moments when sorrow feels like a tide rising too quickly, threatening to drown the little courage I have left. There are nights when fear grips my chest so tightly that I wonder if I will make it to the dawn. And there are days when disappointment whispers that maybe things will never change. I admit these feelings openly before you because I know that hiding them only deepens their power. But when I cry out to you, even in broken words, something shifts. My pain no longer stands alone. It becomes a prayer carried upward into your hands. I remember the desert places in my journey, those dry and weary seasons when my soul thirsted for comfort but found none. It is there that I discovered the truth, that no earthly well could satisfy the deep thirst within me. People may try to help, achievements may distract for a while, but only you can quench the thirst of the Spirit. My cry this morning is not for riches, not for recognition, not for fleeting relief. My cry is for you. Father, I long for your presence more than I long for any solution. I long for your voice more than I long for human approval. I long for your embrace more than I long for comfort from the world. In this cry, I see clearly that my dependence on you is not a weakness, but the very essence of life. Just as a child cannot survive without the care of their parent, I cannot stand without you. I depend on you for guidance when the path is hidden, for strength when my body fails, for hope when the future feels uncertain, for peace when storms surround me. I depend on you for forgiveness that wipes away my shame, for mercy that meets me anew each morning, for love that never walks away. Every cry is proof that I believe you hear me, proof that I trust you care, proof that I know you alone can rescue me. Father, I lift up before you the parts of me that are too wary to keep pretending, the moments I feel unseen, the burdens I cannot carry, the questions that remain unanswered. I cry not with polished words, but with honest need. If tears are my language today, then let them be prayers written on my face. If silence is my only offering, then let it rise to you as incense of surrender. If weakness is all I have, then let it become the very place where your strength is revealed. I think of those who walked before me and dared to cry out in their dependence. Hagar in the wilderness, desperate for water, and you opened her eyes to a well. Hannah in her anguish, pouring her soul at the altar, and you gave her the son she longed for. David in his caves of hiding, crying night after night, and you raised him to be a king. Their cries were not ignored, and neither will mine be. I stand in that same lineage of faith, knowing that my tears are not wasted, my sighs are not lost, my cries are not overlooked. So, Father, let this chapter of prayer be marked by honesty. Strip away the masks I wear for the world. Remove the pride that insists I can do it alone. Silence the voice that tells me dependence is failure. Teach me to see dependence as freedom, the freedom of no longer carrying what I was never meant to bear. In crying out, I am not less, I am more, because I am finally aligned with the truth of who I am, a soul created to need you. I place into your hands every hidden ache, every unspoken fear, every shattered dream. I confess that I do not have the answers, and I do not have control, but I believe that you are not asking me for solutions. You are asking me for surrender, and so I cry out with all that I am, not because I am strong, but because I am weak, not because I am worthy, but because you are merciful. My dependence on you is not an option and is my only hope. Let my cry echo through this morning as both a confession of need and a declaration of trust. Let it rise higher than despair, louder than fear, stronger than doubt. Let it carry me into the heart of this day, knowing that I am not alone. Even if circumstances remain the same, I will be different because dependence transforms me. I am not abandoned. I am not unseen. I am held by the Father who bends low to hear the faintest cry of his child. Father, let these cries continue to build into songs of deliverance. Let dependence deepen into faith, and faith blossom into courage. As I move forward, I choose not to hide my weakness, but to lift it up to you as an offering. This is my cry of the heart, my act of trust, my surrender into your hands, and in this surrender I find life. Father, as my heart continues to cry out in dependence, I find myself leaning on memories that remind me you have never failed. It is in remembering that my fragile trust begins to grow stronger. The night seasons of my life, though painful, also carry within them the evidence of your unseen hand. And as I look back, I realize that my cries have never been met with silence forever. There have always been moments when the weight lifted, when the door opened, when the chains loosened, and those moments anchor me now as I pray in this sacred morning. I recall the countless times I thought I would be overcome, times when fear told me I had no future, when grief told me joy would never return, when weakness told me I could not stand. Yet somehow, often when hope seemed least likely, you stepped in. Father, I remember the midnight moments when nothing made sense, and yet a sudden shift came, small but undeniable. I remember waking with tears one night only to find comfort in a verse that rose in my mind like a lantern in the dark. I remember the call from a friend at just the right time, a voice carrying words that pierced the silence and reminded me I was not forgotten. I remember the unexpected provision that came when resources were gone, the opportunity that arrived just when the door seemed permanently closed. These were not coincidences. They were whispers of your mercy in the midnight hours. You are the God who moves when the world least expects it. Just as you delivered Israel in the heart of the night, breaking the grip of oppression and opening the path to freedom, so you have delivered me from situations that once felt permanent. I look back on seasons of fear, and I see how you turned them into testimonies. I look back on disappointments, and I see how you wove them into redirections that shaped me for good. I look back on pain, and I see how you did not waste it, but used it to deepen my compassion and my faith. Remembering does not erase the struggles, but it redefines them. What once looked like defeat now reveals itself as preparation. What once felt like abandonment now stands as proof of your nearness. Father, I hold on to these memories not just for myself, but as gifts to carry forward. When my heart trembles again, I will remind it of your faithfulness. When doubts arise, I will confront them with stories of what you have already done. When fear whispers lies, I will silence it with truths written in my past. And I know that as I remember, I am not alone in this practice. Generations before me have remembered too. The psalmists poured out songs that began in despair, but turned into praise when they recalled your mighty works. Prophets cried out in anguish, but found courage when they remembered your promises. The disciples themselves feared the storm until they remembered who was in the boat with them. So in this morning prayer, I join that chorus of memory. I look back not to live in the past, but to see the thread of your hand guiding me into this present. Every answered prayer, every quiet reassurance, every open door stands as a stone of remembrance in the journey of my soul. And just as Israel raised altars to mark the places of your deliverance, I raise the altar of my heart now to say, surely the Lord has been faithful. Father, help me to remember not only the extraordinary moments, but also the simple mercies that sustained me. The breath that never ceased, the food on the table, the roof that held in storms, the strength to take one more step when I thought I could not, the kindness of strangers, the warmth of community, the guidance of your spirit in decisions too heavy for me alone. These daily graces are miracles in disguise, reminders that you are not distant, but intimately involved in the details of my life. I confess that forgetting comes easily. My mind rushes toward new worries, and I overlook the faithfulness behind me. Forgive me for treating your past goodness as ordinary. Forgive me for doubting when you have proven yourself again and again. Teach me to be one who remembers, who tells the stories of your deliverance, who speaks them not only to myself but to others, so that faith may multiply. Let remembering become the rhythm of my mornings, the melody of my prayers, the foundation of my hope. Father, as I remember, I also anticipate. The same God who moved before will move again. The same God who opened doors at midnight will open new ones in his time. The same God who comforted me in tears will comfort me again. My past is not just a record. It is a prophecy of what you will continue to do. And so I carry into this day not just memories, but expectations. I expect your presence to steady me. I expect your mercy to meet me. I expect your power to break through where I least imagine. This chapter of prayer becomes my declaration that I am not forgotten, not forsaken, not abandoned. You have proven yourself too many times for me to doubt now. My heart may still tremble, but it trembles while leaning on the rock of remembrance. My voice may still waver, but it wavers while recounting your victories. My faith may still feel fragile, but it is strengthened by the memory of your unfailing love. Father, I remember, and in remembering, I rise with hope. Father, as I sit in the glow of remembered faithfulness, I cannot escape the quiet truth that rises with it. To remember what you have done also brings to light what I have done, and how often I have wandered away from the path you set before me. Memory has two sides, one that reveals your mercy, and one that reminds me of my own brokenness. And here in this morning's stillness, I cannot pretend that I am without fault. I bring before you the weight that presses on my conscience, the mistakes that whisper in the silence, the hidden things I would rather ignore. I bring them not to hide, but to be healed. I confess, Father, that too many I have chosen my way over yours. I have spoken words that cut instead of healed. I have carried thoughts that poisoned my heart instead of purified it. I have walked paths that led me further from peace instead of closer to you. There are regrets I replay, choices I wish I could undo, moments I wish I could erase. They rise up like shadows when I am alone, and they remind me that no matter how hard I try, I cannot cleanse myself, and so I do the only thing I can. I lay them before you in honesty. This honesty is painful, yet it is also a gift. To admit my failures is to open the door for your mercy. To uncover my shame is to invite your covering. To fall on my knees in repentance is to discover that the ground of humility is the very place where grace grows. Father, I do not bring these confessions because I want to dwell on guilt. I bring them because I know you are faithful to forgive, because I know repentance is not the end, but the beginning of renewal. I think of David who cried, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me." He had fallen, but he did not stay fallen. He turned his eyes back to you, and you restored him. His story gives me courage to do the same. If you could wash the stain from his soul, you can wash mine too. If you could lift him from the weight of shame, you can lift me as well. Father, let repentance not be a moment I dread, but a door I gladly open. Teach me to see it not as condemnation, but as invitation, the invitation to live free of secrets, to walk without the burden of hidden chains, to breathe in the air of forgiveness. When I bring my sins into the light, they lose their power. When I release them into your hands, they no longer own me. This is the gift of repentance, that the weight pressing me down becomes the very weight you lift away. I surrender the pride that keeps me pretending. I surrender the excuses that try to minimize what I know is wrong. I surrender the self-defense that only builds walls between us. Father, strip these things from me until I stand bare before you. It is not easy to admit weakness, but it is here, in this place of surrender, that your Spirit breathes new life. I would rather be broken in your hands than whole in my own deception. So I repent, not only for what I have done, but also for what I have left undone. For the times I could have spoken kindness, but chose silence. For the moments I could have offered help, but turned away. For the opportunities to love that I let slip through my fingers. These too weigh heavy, and I bring them to you. Forgive me, Father, and teach me to walk with eyes open, hands ready, heart willing. As I confess, I also ask that you reshape me. Do not let this be only the release of guilt, but the planting of something new. Replace harshness with gentleness. Replace impatience with patience. Replace fear with faith. Replace selfishness with love. Let repentance not only cleanse, but also transform. I do not want to return to old ways once forgiven. I want to rise renewed, to walk differently, to speak differently, to live as one who has been touched by mercy. Father, let the weight that once crushed me become the very testimony that shapes me. Let the places where I fell become the places where your grace shines brightest. Let the tears of repentance water the soil of future joy. Let this morning be not a moment of shame, but a turning point toward holiness. I rest in the assurance that you do not despise a contrite heart. You do not reject the one who comes with trembling honesty. You meet repentance not with punishment, but with compassion. You take the ashes of failure and exchange them for beauty. You take the rags of guilt and clothe me in dignity. You take the wounds of my past and turn them into scars that tell a story of healing. This is why repentance is a gift, because it always ends with your arms open, always ends with love greater than my sin. Father, I walk into this day lighter than when I began. The burden I carried has been named, surrendered, and lifted. The mistakes I feared have been met with mercy. The darkness I hid has been pierced by your light. And now, with a cleansed heart, I step forward with renewed hope. Let this morning not only remind me of your faithfulness, but also anchor me in the truth that no sin is greater than your forgiveness. No failure is final when placed in your hands. No weight is too heavy for you to carry. This is my prayer of repentance, my offering of honesty, my surrender into the gift of grace. Father, after laying down the weight of my failures and receiving the gift of repentance, I feel a new freedom rising within me. The burdens that once pressed so heavily are lifted, and in their place comes a call to stand with courage. Repentance does not leave me empty. It makes space for strength, and I sense that you are preparing me not only to walk in forgiveness, but to walk into the battles that lie ahead. I know that each day holds challenges I cannot always see, forces I cannot always name, struggles that arise both outside and within. And yet, because I am yours, I am not sent out unarmed. You clothe me in light. You cover me with truth, and you equip me with what I need to stand firm. Father, as the dawn breaks, I imagine myself rising, not in my own clothes, but in the armor you provide, piece by piece. You dress me for the day, not in garments of fear or shame, but in the shining strength of your spirit. Where I was once exposed, now I am covered. Where I was once vulnerable, now I am guarded. The light of your presence becomes my shield, and with that shield I step forward, not as one who trembles, but as one who is ready. I begin by fastening the belt of truth around my waist. Father, let your truth hold me together when lies try to tear me apart. Let it steady me when confusion surrounds me. Let it remind me who I am when the world tries to redefine me. Truth is not fragile, it is firm, unshakable, rooted in you. With truth, I cannot be swayed by every whisper or distracted by every shadow. With truth, I stand centered and secure. Next, I lift the breastplate of righteousness and place it over my heart. Father, I know my own goodness is never enough. My heart is too easily swayed, too easily wounded. But when you cover me in righteousness, my heart is guarded by what is unbreakable. Protect my desires, purify my motives, shape my choices so that I live not for myself but for you. Let righteousness be more than a covering. Let it be the rhythm of how I live. I fit my feet with readiness, the kind of readiness that comes from the peace of the gospel. Father, direct my steps so that everywhere I go, I carry peace. Let my movements today be swift toward kindness, steady toward justice, gentle toward the broken. Keep me from stumbling on paths of anger or distraction. Instead, let me walk with purpose, planting peace where there is division, planting hope where there is despair. May my steps echo the good news that you are near. Then I take up the shield of faith, and with it I quench the flames of doubt and fear. Father, I know that arrows will fly, accusations, temptations, discouragements, but with faith, none of them will pierce me. Teach me to hold that shield high when the battle rages, to trust not in my own grip, but in your strength holding me steady. Faith does not remove the fight, but it ensures that I am never unprotected. Let my shield grow stronger with every prayer, every memory of your faithfulness, every declaration of trust. Upon my head, I place the helmet of salvation. Father, guard my thoughts, for so often they are the first place of attack. Protect my mind from lies that say I am unworthy, from fears that cloud my vision, from doubts that drain my courage. Let the assurance of salvation be the covering I cannot remove, the reminder that I am yours, rescued and redeemed, safe in your hands. Every thought that enters, let it be filtered through this truth. I belong to you. Finally, I take up the sword of the Spirit, which is your word. Father, let your word be alive in me, sharp and steady, not for harm but for strength. With it, I cut through deception. With it, I confront despair. With it, I speak life into places that feel barren. Let Scripture rise in my heart like a fire, ready to be declared when the night grows long or the day grows heavy. Let it not be distant knowledge, but living breath within me, shaping my responses, guiding my decisions, filling my prayers. Father, clothed in this armor of light, I am reminded that I do not fight as one left alone. Your Spirit surrounds me, your angels stand guard, and your presence leads me. The battles may be fierce, but the outcome is secure. Each piece of armor is not only protection, but also a declaration that I belong to the kingdom of light and not the realm of darkness. When I walk clothed in your armor, I walk as a child of victory, not defeat. So I step into this day prepared, not because I am strong, but because you are, not because I have all the answers, but because you fight for me. Let this armor not remain a vision in prayer, but become a reality in how I live. Let truth steady my words, righteousness guard my heart, peace guide my steps, faith shield my soul, salvation protect my mind, and your word empower my spirit. Father, let this preparation be more than ritual. Let it be the confidence I carry into every conversation, every decision, every challenge. Remind me throughout the day that I am armed with light, that darkness has no hold on me, that I am covered, secure, and ready. And as I live in this truth, may others see the glow of your strength through me, not for my glory, but for yours. Father, clothed in the armor of light, I stand ready, yet I know that armor alone is not my final defense. What shields me most deeply, what secures my victory beyond all doubt, is the blood of Jesus that covers me. It is not only a symbol of sacrifice, but a living testimony, a voice that still speaks into every corner of my life. And so, as I rise into this new morning, I turn my heart toward that crimson story, the story of a love so fierce that it poured itself out to redeem me. Father, I confess that many times I forget the power of that blood. I think of it as history, as something long past, rather than as the present force it is. But today I choose to remember, the blood of Jesus does not fade. It does not lose strength. It does not run dry. It continues to cover, to cleanse, to protect, to declare my freedom. It speaks better things than the voice of condemnation, better things than the voice of fear, better things than the voice of shame, where guilt demands punishment. The blood speaks forgiveness, where despair announces defeat. The blood proclaims victory, where curses echo through generations. The blood establishes blessing. Father, let me hear that voice more clearly than any other when the accusations of the enemy rise, reminding me of every failure. Let the blood speak louder. When my own thoughts turn against me, replaying every regret, let the blood silence them with mercy. When fear tries to convince me that darkness will prevail, let the blood testify that light has already won. The blood is not only a covering but a declaration, an unshakable decree that I am redeemed, that I am yours, that no weapon formed against me can stand. I bring before you every place in my life that feels unclean, every wound that still aches, every shadow that lingers. Father, let the blood of Jesus wash over them. Let it cleanse the hidden corners where bitterness tries to hide. Let it heal the scars that keep reopening with memory. Let it break the chains that have bound me longer than I can name. Let it cover not only me, but those I love, seeping into the cracks of our stories, binding up what is broken, protecting what is fragile, restoring what has been stolen. I see, Father, how the blood speaks not only over individuals, but over households. Just as it marked the doors of Israel on the night of deliverance, declaring safety and freedom, so let it mark the door of my home. Let no plague cross that threshold, no fear invade its rooms, no darkness find shelter there. Let every corner be sealed with the voice of the blood, declaring that this family belongs to you, that this dwelling is guarded, that every heart within it is covered, and beyond my home, let the blood reach into the generations that will come after me. Let it break cycles of harm. Let it silence old patterns of destruction. Let it plant seeds of righteousness where once there were roots of despair. Father, I believe that what was once passed down in pain can be interrupted by grace. Let my children, and their children after them, inherit blessing because the blood has spoken. Let them walk in light, not shadows, in freedom, not bondage, in hope, not fear. Father, I also know that the blood is not only for defense, but for renewal. It does not merely shield me from harm. It restores what harm has taken. It whispers life into dry places, breath into weary bones, courage into trembling hearts. It is not passive, it is active, flowing with resurrection power. Let it course through my spirit today, filling me with vitality, with boldness, with unshakable joy. Let it remind me that I do not walk as a victim of circumstance, but as a child of victory, because I carry within me the mark of redemption. I ask that you train my heart to remember this covering throughout the day when I step into unfamiliar places. Let me walk with confidence because I am not unprotected when I face difficult conversations. Let me speak with peace because my identity is secure. when I encounter setbacks. Let me stand firm, because the blood has already declared my future. Father, let the blood not be a distant theology, but a present reality woven into my every step, my every thought, my every breath. Father, let this morning become a fresh encounter with that truth. I am not defined by what I have done or by what others have said. I am defined by what the blood declares. And it declares freedom. It declares forgiveness. It declares protection. It declares belonging. It declares life. The blood is my inheritance, my safety, my confidence, my song. And as I whisper these words in prayer, I sense its covering anew, a blanket of mercy laid across my shoulders, steadying me for what is ahead. So I step forward into this day, not with fear, but with assurance, not with doubt, but with confidence, not with guilt, but with gratitude. The blood that speaks better things is my anchor, my banner, my shield, and I choose to listen to its voice above all others, letting it shape my heart, my choices, and my destiny. Father, as I rest in the covering of the blood that speaks life and protection, my heart cannot remain focused only on myself. Your mercy is too wide, too generous, too overflowing to stop with me alone. I feel it stirring in me to pray beyond my own soul, to lift up my family, my household, and the generations connected to me. What you pour into my life is never meant to end here. It is meant to be planted as seed, to take root, to grow, and to bear fruit in the lives of those I love. I believe that what is spoken in prayer now can shape not only today, but tomorrow, not only my path, but the paths of those who will walk after me. Father, I bring before you the people you have entrusted into my care, whether by blood or by bond. I place them in your hands, knowing that the safest place they can be is under your covering. Some of them walk with faith strong and steady. Others struggle with doubts, questions, and fears. Some are near to you, and others seem far away. Yet no matter where they stand, I ask that you plant blessing in their lives. Let your favor surround them when they step out of the door. Let your wisdom guide them when they make decisions. Let your peace guard them when storms arise. I see their faces in my mind, Father, and I whisper their names to you. I think of the children who are still growing, still learning who they are and where they belong. I pray that you would plant seeds of courage in them, seeds of kindness, seeds of faith that will sprout even when the world tries to sow confusion. Protect their innocence, nurture their gifts, guide their steps, and let them discover the joy of knowing you early in their lives. Let them rise as men, women, who carry your light into a world that desperately needs it. For those who are older, who carry responsibilities and burdens, I ask that you renew their strength. Plant in them seeds of resilience, seeds of wisdom, seeds of compassion that will not wither in hardship. Remind them that they are not walking alone. Remind them that every tear, every effort, every sacrifice is seen by you and will not be wasted. Let their work prosper not just in material ways, but in eternal ones. Shaping lives, building hope, leaving behind a legacy that honors you. Father, I also lift those who may feel lost or far from your presence. They may resist prayer. They may dismiss faith. They may carry wounds that keep them distant. Yet I ask that even now, unseen seeds be planted in their hearts, seeds of truth that will one day break through the soil of unbelief. Seeds of love that will soften what has grown hard. Seeds of hope that will remind them they are never beyond your reach. I may not see the harvest yet, but I believe you are already working beneath the surface. Bless not only individuals, but also the unity of our household. Plant seeds of harmony where division tries to creep in. Plant seeds of forgiveness where old wounds linger. Plant seeds of laughter where heaviness weighs us down. Teach us to speak words that build rather than break, to choose patience over irritation, to offer grace rather than judgment. Let our home be a place where blessing is not only prayed for but practiced, where love is lived out in daily gestures and ordinary moments. Father, I ask for blessing not in the shallow sense of possessions alone, but in the deeper sense of wholeness. Let there be health in our bodies, yes, but also health in our relationships. Let there be provision on our tables, but also joy that no scarcity can steal. Let there be opportunities that open, but also wisdom to know which ones to walk through. Let there be favor in the eyes of others, but most of all, let there be delight in your eyes. For what good is success without your presence? And what good is abundance without your peace? I imagine these blessings as seeds scattered across the soil of our family line. Some may sprout quickly, bringing early fruit. Others may take longer, lying hidden beneath the surface until the season is right. But all of them are alive. All of them carry promise. All of them will bear fruit in your time. And just as the farmer trusts the seed once it is planted, I choose to trust that what I pray here this morning will grow into something greater than I can see. Father, let these seeds not only bless our family inward, but also outwardly. Let our household become a source of encouragement to others, a refuge for the weary, a testimony to neighbors, a light in the community. Let what you do in us spill beyond our walls, so that many are touched by the harvest. And may the fruit of these seeds never be hoarded but shared, multiplying blessing again and again. As I close my eyes, I see it clearly, a field stretching wide, filled with grain ready for harvest, the result of seeds sown long before. Let my prayers today join the prayers of those who came before me, the generations who lifted their voices for those they would never meet. And let my children's prayers one day join mine, continuing the planting so that blessing flows unbroken. This is my hope, Father, that our household will carry an inheritance of faith, richer than any earthly treasure, an inheritance that will not fade but endure. Father, after planting seeds of blessing over my household, I realize that even the most fertile fields must face storms. The winds will come, the skies will darken, and the rain will pour. Life is never free from turbulence, and often the storms rise without warning. I know that my family and I will face seasons when uncertainty rattles our confidence, when challenges press in on every side, when hope seems fragile. Yet I also know that storms do not define us, because you are present in their midst. You are the still point in chaos, the voice that calms the waves, the hand that steadies trembling hearts. Father, I confess that peace does not always come naturally to me. When problems multiply, my thoughts spiral. When circumstances feel out of control, I tighten my grip as though fear could somehow steady the ship. But the truth is that no amount of worry has ever silenced a storm. Only you can speak to the winds and waves with authority. Only you can bring calm that is not based on circumstances, but rooted in your unchanging nature. Teach me to lean into that peace, to seek it not in outward conditions, but in inward trust. I remember how Jesus slept in the boat while his disciples panicked. The waters roared, the storm threatened, and yet he rested because his confidence was anchored in you. Father, I long for that kind of peace, the peace that rests even when the storm rages, the peace that trusts that I am never beyond your reach. Let that peace guard my heart today when anxiety knocks. Let peace answer the door when fear whispers. Let peace rise louder when despair tries to creep in. Let peace push it back with quiet authority. Father, let this peace not only surround me, but flow through me. Make me an instrument of calm in my household and beyond. When tensions rise among those I love, help me to speak words that soothe rather than inflame. When chaos swirls in conversations, let my presence bring steadiness. When discouragement spreads like wildfire, let me carry a quiet assurance that reminds others of your faithfulness. I want my life to reflect not panic but peace, not turmoil but trust, not despair but hope. Sometimes the storms are not visible to others. They happen in the unseen places of the heart. Silent battles. Hidden griefs, unspoken fears, all of these can rage like thunder inside the soul. Father, speak into those inner storms as well. Let your peace fill the corners of my mind where worry lingers. Let it settle into the spaces of my heart where sorrow weighs heavy. Let it quiet the restless churn of questions that have no immediate answers. Remind me that peace is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of your spirit within me. I ask also for peace over those I carry in prayer. Some of them are walking through storms of sickness, storms of loss, storms of broken relationships. Their nights feel endless, their days heavy, their hope dim. Father, let your peace rest on them in ways they cannot explain. Let them feel the steadying presence of your love even when the waves do not immediately subside. Let them know that they are not abandoned, that their cries are heard, that their tears are seen. Father, I picture peace like a blanket stretched across the storm, not erasing the wind, but softening its blow, not denying the rain, but covering the ones caught beneath it. I imagine peace like an anchor holding firm beneath the waterline, unseen yet unmovable, keeping the vessel steady though the waves crash against it. Let these images root themselves in me so that when storms rise, I remember that I am not adrift. I am anchored. I am covered. I am held. I also pray for peace in places far beyond my reach, across communities torn by division, across nations shaken by conflict, across hearts weighed down by uncertainty. Father, let your peace ripple outward, beginning in me and extending to those around me. Let it cross boundaries, break barriers, and plant hope in unlikely places. The world may roar with chaos, but your kingdom speaks with stillness. Teach me to carry that kingdom wherever I go. As I breathe in the morning air, I imagine inhaling peace and exhaling fear. I let go of what I cannot control and take hold of what is always true. You are with me. And because you are with me, peace is possible. Peace is available. Peace is mine to receive. Father, let this reality carry me into the day ahead. Whether the skies stay clear or clouds gather, I will not be shaken. The storm may test me, but peace will keep me. So I choose peace, not as wishful thinking, but as living trust. I choose to rest in the one who calms seas. I choose to anchor myself not in changing circumstances, but in unchanging love. I choose to walk through this day with the steady rhythm of peace echoing in my spirit. Father, this is my prayer, that peace will reign in me, around me, and beyond me, even in the midst of storms. Father, after experiencing the peace that holds me steady in storms, I am reminded that sometimes the most difficult storm is not the one that rages loudly, but the one that lingers silently in the form of waiting. Waiting stretches my patience, tests my hope, and often leaves me feeling restless. Yet in this morning quiet, I sense you inviting me not to resist the waiting, but to find strength within it. For waiting is not wasted time when it is spent with you. It is the ground where trust grows deep roots, the place where dependence matures, and the season where unseen work unfolds. Father, I confess that waiting is hard for me. My heart longs for answers, my mind craves resolution, and my spirit aches for change. When prayers seem unanswered and doors remain closed, discouragement knocks loudly at my soul. I question whether I am forgotten, whether my prayers rise only to silence. Yet I know that silence does not mean absence. I know that delay does not mean denial. I know that you are working in ways I cannot see, and that your timing, though mysterious, is perfect. Teach me, Father, to embrace waiting as a holy practice rather than a punishment. Let me see it as a pause filled with purpose rather than emptiness. Just as seeds rest in the soil before they break forth into growth, so do my prayers rest in your hands before they bear fruit. Strengthen me to remain faithful in the in-between, to keep praying when the answer has not yet come, to keep believing when evidence is scarce, to keep walking when the path feels endless. I remember Abraham, who waited decades for the promise of a son, Joseph, who waited years in captivity before his dream was fulfilled, and Hannah, who poured her tears year after year before receiving her child. None of their waiting was meaningless. You used it to shape their hearts, to prepare their character, to position them for the blessing ahead. If you did it for them, you can do it for me. Their stories remind me that the waiting season is not empty, but filled with hidden preparation. Father, help me to find strength in daily faithfulness. In the waiting, let me not sit idle, but live with intention. Let me serve with joy, love with patience, and walk with humility. Let me practice gratitude for what is already here, while still hoping for what is to come. Strength does not always look like bold action. Sometimes it looks like quiet perseverance, the steady rhythm of trusting one day at a time. When impatience rises, calm my spirit. When comparison tempts me to measure my journey against others, Remind me that each story unfolds uniquely. When doubt whispers that nothing is changing, open my eyes to the small shifts, the subtle movements, the gentle evidence that you are still at work. Waiting is not inactivity. It is trusting that even when nothing looks different, everything is being prepared. Father, I ask for strength not only for myself, but for those around me who are also waiting. Some are waiting for healing, some for reconciliation, some for provision, some for clarity. Their waiting feels heavy, their faith stretched thin. Let them discover strength in your presence. Let them sense that you are near, that their cries are not ignored, that their tears are not wasted. Give them courage to keep walking, hope to keep believing, and peace to endure until the season shifts. I picture waiting like standing at the edge of dawn. The sky is still dark, yet faint light is rising unseen. The night feels long, yet morning is on its way. Father, let me hold this vision close when I grow weary. Remind me that just as no night lasts forever, no waiting season is endless. There will be a moment when light breaks through, when doors open, when prayers blossom into answers. Until then, keep me steady in hope. Let the strength of waiting transform me. Let it deepen my faith, refine my character, expand my compassion. Let it teach me to value the journey as much as the destination. Let it anchor me not in what I hope to receive, but in who you are. For if I have you in the waiting, then I already hold the greatest treasure. So this morning, Father, I choose not to despise the waiting, but to embrace it. I choose to trust that you are weaving unseen threads into a tapestry of purpose. I choose to believe that when the time is right, the answer will come, and it will be more beautiful than I could have imagined. And until that moment, I will walk in strength that comes not from my own will, but from your sustaining hand. Father, as I learn to find strength in the waiting, I also realize that the waiting itself would be unbearable without a safe place to rest. The journey of faith is filled with moments of weariness, moments when threats feel overwhelming, moments when the heart cries out for shelter. And in those moments, you reveal yourself as my refuge. You are not only the God who calls me forward, but also the God who draws me near, the strong tower where I can hide, the fortress that no storm can topple and no enemy can breach. Father, I confess that too often I run first to lesser shelters. I look for comfort in distractions, security in my own plans, relief in temporary solutions. Yet none of them can truly protect me. They crumble under the weight of real pressure. Only you endure. Only you stand firm when everything else shakes. This morning, I choose again to run into your presence as my hiding place. I lay down my false securities and rest beneath the shadow of your protection. When I picture refuge, I imagine thick walls surrounding me, walls that cannot be scaled or broken. But your refuge is even stronger than stone. It is not made of earthly material, but of divine strength. Your refuge is peace when fear surrounds me, hope when despair tries to consume me, comfort when grief presses close. Your refuge is not distant. It is immediate. At the whisper of your name, at the lifting of my eyes, I find myself sheltered. Father, I ask that you remind me of this refuge throughout the day. when criticism stings. Draw me into the fortress of your affirmation. When temptation presses, draw me into the fortress of your truth. When exhaustion drains me, draw me into the fortress of your rest. Let me not wander exposed when safety is offered so freely. Train me to run quickly to you, not as a last resort, but as my first instinct. I think of David, who hid in caves, pursued by enemies who sought his life. Those caves were temporary shelters, but even there he declared that you were his refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. If he could proclaim that truth while surrounded by danger, I can proclaim it too. My battles may look different, but the need for refuge remains the same. And just as you never failed him, you will not fail me. Father, let my refuge in you not make me passive, but give me courage. The fortress is not only a place to hide, but also a place to regain strength, to gather courage, to step out again with confidence. Within your walls I am renewed, and from your refuge I can face what lies beyond. Teach me that retreating into your presence is not weakness, but wisdom, not escape, but preparation. I also pray that my family and loved ones would know this refuge. Shelter them when fear rises. Guard them when danger lurks unseen. Let them find safety not in possessions, not in achievements, not in fragile relationships, but in you. Cover them with the fortress of your love. Surround them with the fortress of your mercy. Hold them within the fortress of your faithfulness. And when they feel alone, let them discover that they are not abandoned, but hidden in the safe place of all. Father, I extend this prayer for refuge beyond my home to a world that feels so fragile. I think of those displaced by conflict, those living under threat, those who cry out in desperation. Be their fortress when earthly walls fail them. Be their shelter when homes are lost, their strength when hope is thin, their peace when chaos surrounds them. Let them experience in tangible ways the protection that flows from your heart. Even as I sit here in morning stillness, I know that dangers still exist, storms still brew, and challenges still wait. Yet I am not shaken, for I am not unprotected. My fortress is unbreakable, because my fortress is you. I breathe deeply of that safety now. I let it steady my pulse, quiet my thoughts, and anchor my spirit. In you, I am secure. In you, I am at peace. In you, I am unshaken no matter what the day may bring. So as I step into this day, I do not walk exposed, I walk sheltered. I do not face battles unguarded. I face them fortified. I do not wander in fear. I move with assurance. Father, you are my fortress, my refuge, my safe place. And in that truth I rise ready for whatever comes next. Father, after resting in the safety of your fortress, I sense there is something even deeper you are inviting me into. A fortress gives me shelter, but being held by you gives me belonging. Safety is precious, but intimacy transforms me. It is not only walls around me that I need, it is arms around me. And so this morning, I come not only to hide, but to be embraced. I want to learn what it means to be held, to let go of my restless striving and lean into your steady care. Father, I admit that being held does not always come naturally to me. I often resist it. I push forward as though strength is found only in self-reliance. I fight against vulnerability, as though it were weakness. I carry burdens on my own shoulders, as though I were never meant to set them down. And yet, the truth is that I was made to be carried. I was never designed to hold myself together alone. To be held is not to fail, but to return to the place I was created for, to rest in the embrace of my Father. There are moments, Father, when I long for that embrace without even realizing it. Moments when exhaustion sinks deep into my bones. Moments when disappointment cuts sharper than I expected. Moments when loneliness presses against my chest. In those moments, what I need most is not an explanation, not a plan, not even immediate change. What I need is presence. What I need is to feel held, to know that I do not have to figure everything out before I can lean into you, to know that you are not waiting for me to be strong before you draw near. You hold me in my weakness, in my trembling, in my uncertainty. I think of a child who climbs into a parent's arms after falling. The wound may still sting, the tears may still flow, but the embrace changes everything. Pain is still real, yet it is softened by love. Fear still lingers, yet it is eased by security. The future is still unknown, yet it feels less threatening when held close. Father, let me be that child in your arms today. Let me climb past my defenses, past my pride, past my reluctance, and rest in your embrace. Father, I ask that you teach me to recognize the ways you hold me, even now. You hold me in the quiet peace that settles unexpectedly. You hold me in the strength of friends who pray when I cannot. You hold me in the beauty of creation, reminding me that I am part of something vast yet intimately loved. You hold me in the words of Scripture that breathe life into weary places. You hold me in silence, in song, in moments too sacred for words. Help me notice these embraces, so I never mistake them for coincidence or overlook them in haste. I confess, Father, that sometimes I resist being held because it means letting go. To be held means releasing control. Surrendering outcomes. Admitting need. It means unclenching my fists and trusting that if I fall, you will catch me. This surrender is hard, but I ask for the courage to release what I grip so tightly. Teach me that in your arms, surrender is not loss but gain, not weakness but strength, not emptiness but fullness. Father, let this experience of being held heal the broken places within me. Let it mend the wounds of rejection, silence the voices of condemnation, and calm the anxieties that race through my thoughts. When I am held by you, lies lose their power because truth surrounds me. When I am held by you, shame cannot cling because love covers me. When I am held by you, fear dissolves because perfect love casts it out. Let this embrace become the foundation of my identity, reminding me that I am not defined by what I do or fail to do, but by whose arms I rest in. I also pray for those I love. Father, some of them are longing to be held, but do not know how to ask. Some are so busy proving themselves that they have forgotten the freedom of resting. Some are so wounded that they fear any embrace might hurt again. Draw them gently into your arms. Let them feel the safety of your love, the strength of your presence, the tenderness of your care. Teach them, as you teach me, that being held is not a fleeting comfort, but a lasting truth. Father, I want to carry the posture of being held into everything I face today. When challenges arise, let me respond not as one abandoned, but as one embraced. When responsibilities feel heavy, let me remember that I am carried. When uncertainty clouds my view, let me rest in the certainty of your arms. Let this truth steady my steps, soften my words, and shape my choices. For if I know that I am held, I can face anything. So I linger here, Father, in this sacred embrace. The world outside may hurry, demands may shout, storms may rise, but within your arms I am safe, I am loved, I am whole. And from this place of being held, I am ready to rise, not in my own strength, but in the strength of your love that never lets go. Father, after learning to be held in the safety of your arms, I realize that there are still things I clutch tightly. Wounds I carry as though they were part of my identity. Even as I rest in your embrace, I feel the weight of old hurts pressing against my chest. Memories that refuse to fade. Disappointments that whisper when the night grows quiet. Being held is beautiful, but to remain in that embrace, I must also loosen my grip on what harms me. This morning, Father, I bring to you the things that hurt most, asking for the courage to let them go. I confess that letting go does not come easily. Hurt feels familiar, even when it poisons me. Pain becomes a shadow I have learned to live with, a burden I have grown accustomed to carrying. Sometimes I cling to it because I fear that releasing it means forgetting what I endured, as though letting go would minimize the depth of my struggle. Other times I hold on because I do not know who I would be without it. Yet deep down, I know that holding on does not heal me. It only keeps the wound open. Only in releasing it to you can I find freedom. Father, I bring before you the words that cut deeply, the betrayals that still sting, the losses that leave an ache that time has not erased. I place them in your hands, not because I understand them, not because I no longer feel them, but because I trust you to carry what I cannot. Heal the memories that haunt me, quiet the voices that accuse me. Mend the brokenness that lingers beneath the surface. Teach me that letting go does not dishonor the past, but honors you, the one who redeems even what was painful. Letting go, Father, is not an act of denial but of surrender. It does not mean pretending that pain never existed, but acknowledging that it no longer has the right to control me. It means trusting that you can take what was meant for harm and use it for good. It means believing that my story is not defined by its wounds, but by your healing. It means opening my clenched fists so that you can place something new inside. Father, I also recognize that some of the hurts I carry come not only from what others have done, but from what I have done myself. Mistakes I cannot undo, choices I regret, shame that lingers long after forgiveness has been spoken. These too I place before you. Teach me to release the self-condemnation that chains me. Help me to accept the grace you freely offer, grace that does not excuse sin, but washes it away. Let me let go of my own accusations, so that I may walk in the fullness of your mercy. There are also hurts I carry on behalf of others, burdens I take upon myself because I love them. I feel their struggles as though they were mine, their pain pressing into my heart. Father, remind me that I am not their savior. I can care, I can pray, I can support, but ultimately I must entrust them to you. Teach me to release them into your hands, confident that you love them even more than I do. Letting go does not mean abandoning them. It means believing that you are faithful to care for them in ways I cannot. Father, as I release these hurts, fill the empty spaces they leave behind. Replace bitterness with compassion, despair with hope, heaviness with joy. Pour peace into the cracks where pain once settled. Let forgiveness flow where anger once held power. Let trust rise where fear once took root. Do not let me walk away empty-handed, but renewed, lighter, freer, because I have given you what was never meant for me to carry alone. I imagine myself standing with open hands, lifting them upward, offering the fragments of my pain to you. I picture you receiving them not with judgment, but with tenderness, not with impatience, but with compassion. And in exchange, I sense you placing into my hands something far greater: strength, healing, purpose, love. Father, help me to live in that exchange each day, not reclaiming the burdens I have released, but continuing to trust you with them. Letting go is not a single act, but a daily choice. So when old hurts resurface, when memories return, when bitterness tries to creep back in, remind me again to release them. Remind me that freedom is found not in clinging, but in surrender. Remind me that your embrace is wide enough to hold both my wounds and my healing, both my tears and my laughter. Father, let my life bear witness to the power of letting go. Let others see in me not the mark of pain, but the mark of peace. Let them notice not the weight of bitterness, but the lightness of grace. Let them hear in my words not the echo of past wounds, but the melody of present healing. And may that witness point them to you, the one who takes what hurts and transforms it into wholeness. So here, in the quiet of this morning, I release again what I have carried too long. I let go of what hurts, and I hold on to you. And in that release, I discover freedom, healing, and the promise of a new day. Father, after letting go of what hurts, I feel the silence that follows. At first, it feels unfamiliar, almost unsettling, as though the absence of pain leaves a void I do not know how to fill. Yet as I linger here, I begin to realize that this silence is not emptiness, but stillness. The quiet ground where surrender settles into peace. When I loosen my grip on what once defined me, my hands are free, my heart is lighter, and my spirit begins to rest. This morning, I do not want to rush past that stillness. I want to sit within it and learn what it means to dwell in the calm that comes after surrender. Father, I confess that my natural instinct is to move quickly, to fill every silence with noise, to replace every release with something new. But you are teaching me that not every gap must be filled immediately. Some spaces are holy because they remain open, waiting for your presence to occupy them. Stillness is not wasted time, but sacred time. The pause in which your spirit whispers what cannot be heard in the rush. Help me to slow down enough to hear that whisper, to notice the gentleness of your nearness, to breathe deeply of the calm that you provide. I think of the sea after a storm, Waves that once raged now soften into ripples. Winds that once howled now fade into silence. The water reflects the sky with clarity again. That is what surrender feels like: chaos giving way to calm, fear yielding to peace. The heart becoming still enough to mirror your presence. Father, let my soul reflect you in this same way. Smooth the restless waters within me, so that I may carry a calm spirit into this day, a spirit that reflects your stability and not my instability. Father, teach me that stillness is not passivity, but attentiveness. In stillness, I am not doing nothing. I am listening. I am waiting with trust instead of striving with fear. I am leaning into your strength instead of exhausting my own. Let me find the courage to resist the constant pull of urgency and choose instead the depth of quiet. It is here, in this place of surrender, that I discover the assurance that you are in control and I am safe in your hands. I remember how Elijah, weary and disheartened, heard your voice not in the earthquake, not in the fire, not in the wind, but in the gentle whisper. Father, help me to value that whisper. Help me to recognize that the greatest revelations often come in the smallest sounds. May I not overlook them because they do not roar. May I not dismiss them because they do not shout. Train my ears to recognize your voice in the stillness, to believe that even silence is filled with meaning when you are present. Father, I ask that you let this stillness, after surrender, become the rhythm of my days. When decisions press heavily, let me pause long enough to hear your guidance. When emotions flare quickly, let me rest long enough to let your peace steady me. When responsibilities pile high, let me stop long enough to remember that I am held by you and not driven by pressure. Stillness is not about escape, but about alignment. Not about withdrawal, but about renewal. Let me carry this truth into every corner of my life. I also pray that those I love may taste this stillness too. Many of them live lives filled with noise, rushing from one demand to the next, carrying burdens that never seem to lighten. Draw them into moments of surrender where they too can rest. Let them discover the relief of letting go, the comfort of being held, the peace of being still. Whisper to them in their exhaustion, reminding them that they are not machines to produce, but souls to be cherished. Surround them with calm that steadies their hearts and refreshes their spirits. Father, I imagine this stillness spreading like dawn across a weary land. At first it is faint, unnoticed by many, but slowly the light grows, filling the horizon, touching everything it reaches. That is how your peace moves into surrendered hearts. It begins quietly, but it expands steadily until even the darkest corners are lit. Let this dawn rise within me today. Let it quiet every anxious thought, soften every sharp memory, and steady every trembling place. So here I remain. Father, not rushing to fill the silence, but choosing to abide within it. I let the stillness wrap around me like a soft blanket, reminding me that I am safe, reminding me that I am loved, reminding me that surrender is not the end, but the beginning of calm. And from this place of peace, I am ready to move forward, carrying the quiet strength that only comes after letting go. Father, as I sit in the stillness that follows surrender, I begin to sense the quiet strength of something greater than myself moving within me. That strength is not loud or forceful, not a surge of willpower or determination, but a steady current of grace. Grace does not arrive with the sound of thunder. It moves like a soft stream, patient and persistent, shaping everything it touches. In this morning light, I realize that it is grace which sustains me, grace which lifts me, and grace which carries me farther than I could ever walk on my own. Father, I confess that I often misunderstand grace. I sometimes treat it as only a pardon for my failures, a covering for my weakness, a rescue when I fall short. And while it is all of these things, it is also more. Grace is not merely a response to brokenness. It is the power that restores, the strength that equips, the gentle force that renews me daily. It is not just what saves me from the past, but what strengthens me for the future. Grace is both shelter and fuel, both comfort and courage. I feel how gently it works in me. Father, grace does not demand perfection before it embraces. It meets me exactly where I am, in the middle of my flaws, my doubts, my unfinished story. Yet at the same time, grace does not leave me as it found me. It shapes me, like hands molding clay, patient but persistent, soft yet firm. It bends without breaking, corrects without crushing, teaches without condemning. Grace is strong, but its strength is tender. And it is this gentle strength that I need most as I step into another day. Father, let grace be the lens through which I see myself. Too often I measure my worth by what I accomplish or by how others perceive me. Too often I let my failures define me or my fears confine me. But grace speaks another word. Grace tells me that I am loved not because of what I achieve, but because of who you are. Grace tells me that I am not disqualified by weakness, but invited to rely on your strength. Grace tells me that I am not beyond repair, but constantly being renewed. Let this truth soak into the deepest places of my heart, until it becomes my instinct to lean on grace instead of on striving. And Father, let grace be the way I see others. When people disappoint me, let me remember how much grace I have received. When anger rises quickly, let grace slow my response. When bitterness tries to settle, let grace stir forgiveness. Teach me that extending grace is not excusing wrong, but reflecting the patience you show me. Let my words be seasoned with kindness, my actions softened with compassion, my heart shaped by the same gentle strength that transforms me. I think of how Paul wrote that your grace is sufficient, and that your power is made perfect in weakness. Father, help me to live that truth. Let me not despise my weakness, but see it as the very place where grace can shine brightest. When I feel inadequate, remind me that grace is enough. When I feel overwhelmed, remind me that grace sustains. When I feel empty, remind me that grace fills. And when I am tempted to believe I must carry everything alone, remind me that grace carries me. Father, I ask that grace weave itself through every part of my day. Let it be present in my work, giving me patience when tasks feel endless. Let it be present in my relationships, giving me gentleness when conflict arises. Let it be present in my thoughts, quieting self-criticism with reminders of your love. Let it be present in my spirit, strengthening me not with force, but with steady courage. Wherever I go, whatever I face, Let grace be my constant companion. I also pray that grace overflow in the lives of those I love. Let it soften hard places in their hearts, ease heavy burdens they carry, and open doors where walls have been built. Let grace heal what years of struggle have left wounded. Let it remind them that they are not forgotten, not unworthy, not beyond redemption, and let them, too, discover the gentle strength that turns weakness into testimony and brokenness into beauty. Father, I see grace like the rising sun, spreading light not suddenly but steadily, warming the earth bit by bit until the whole day is transformed. I feel it like the steady hand of a friend who lifts me when I stumble. Never rushing, never condemning, always steady, always kind. I hear it like the quiet reassurance that whispers, "You are enough because I am with you." These are the ways grace moves, gentle but unshakable, soft but enduring. So as I stand at the threshold of this new day, I choose to walk not in striving but in grace. I choose to measure myself not by perfection, but by the truth of being loved. I choose to extend to others the same compassion I have freely received. And I choose to trust that the gentle strength of grace will sustain me through whatever lies ahead. Father, as I rest in the gentle strength of grace, I realize that grace not only comforts me, but also calls me into renewal. Grace does not simply mend what is broken. It begins the work of rebuilding. It reaches beneath the surface, past the outward appearance, into the hidden foundation of my heart. And in those places, you begin to construct something new, something stronger, steadier, and truer than what stood before. This morning, I sense you inviting me into that process of transformation, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Father, I admit that my natural desire is to fix the outer layers first. I want to adjust what people see, to appear whole even when I feel fragile within. I polish the surface while neglecting the deeper cracks beneath. Yet you remind me that real change cannot be built on a weak foundation. You care less about the image I present and more about the truth of my heart. So I lay down my attempts to rebuild myself with appearances, and I invite you to do the deeper work. Start in the hidden places. Start where the eye cannot see. Rebuild me from within, so that what rises is lasting and true. Father, I think of ruins left after a storm. Walls may crumble, roofs may collapse, but the foundation often remains. That is what my soul feels like at times. Structures fallen, dreams scattered, confidence shaken. Yet even in those ruins, I sense that you are not discouraged. You are the master builder who knows how to gather the fragments and create something stronger than before. You do not discard what is broken. You redeem it. You do not simply restore the old. You construct the new. And in your hands, nothing is wasted. Teach me patience in this rebuilding process. Father, rebuilding takes time, and I often grow restless. I want quick solutions, immediate progress, visible results. But you remind me that true rebuilding is steady and deliberate, stone by stone, layer by layer, each piece set with care. Strength built too quickly does not endure, but strength built carefully lasts. Help me to embrace the slowness, trusting that every unseen step matters. Even when I cannot yet see the shape of what you are building, let me rest in the knowledge that your design is perfect. Father, I bring before you the broken pieces of my character, my impatience, my pride, my insecurities, my fears. Use them as raw material for your work. Shape them into humility, into resilience, into trust, into courage. Rebuild my heart into one that beats steadily with compassion. Rebuild my mind into one that dwells on truth. Rebuild my spirit into one that perseveres with hope. Do not let me settle for surface repairs when you long to reconstruct the very core of who I am. I also ask, Father, that you rebuild relationships that have cracked under pressure. Where words have wounded, lay foundations of forgiveness. Where trust has been broken, pour in the cement of patience. Where distance has grown, build bridges of understanding. Let rebuilding begin not with blame but with grace, not with defensiveness but with humility. And if reconciliation is not possible, then rebuild within me the strength to release and the courage to bless from afar. Father, let this rebuilding extend to my vision of the future. Shatter the distorted perspectives shaped by fear and replace them with clarity shaped by faith. Tear down the walls built by disappointment and raise new walls built by hope. Replace the ceilings that once limited me with open skies that remind me nothing is impossible with you. I do not want to rebuild merely what was lost. I want to step into what is better, stronger, more aligned with your purpose. I pray also for those I love who are walking through seasons of ruin. Some have lost dreams. Some have lost relationships. Some have lost confidence in themselves. Father, show them that ruins are not the end, but the beginning of something new. Let them feel your hands gathering their brokenness. Let them discover that in your presence, no loss is final, no failure permanent, no ruin beyond repair. Rebuild them from the inside out until their lives shine with the evidence of your craftsmanship. Father, I picture myself as a house under renovation. Dust may rise, walls may be stripped, scaffolding may surround me. To the eye it may look incomplete, even chaotic. But you see the blueprint. You see the finished form already. And so I trust you in the process. Even when it feels messy, even when it feels slow, even when I cannot yet glimpse the beauty. I believe you are working, and what you build will last, because you are the builder and the foundation all at once. So today, Father, I surrender myself to your reconstruction. I offer the rubble. I release the ruins. I open the hidden places. Rebuild me not for show but for strength, not for applause but for endurance, not from the outside in but from the inside out. And as you rebuild me, let my life itself become a dwelling place where your presence is at home. Father, as I think of the rebuilding you are doing within me, I must confess that there are moments when your presence feels hidden, when your voice seems quiet, when I am left in the weight of silence. It is in these seasons that I struggle the most, because my heart longs for clear direction, for unmistakable answers, for signs that you are near. Yet what I encounter is stillness that feels empty, silence that feels heavy, waiting that feels endless. Father, I bring this tension to you now, not to accuse but to admit how deeply I long to hear you when the silence stretches long. Father, I wrestle with questions in these silent spaces. Did I wander too far? Did I fail to listen when you spoke? Have I done something that caused you to withhold your voice? These thoughts press in. And yet, even in the silence, there is a whisper beneath the fear that reminds me, you have not abandoned me. Silence is not the same as absence. Quiet does not equal distance. I remind myself that even when I cannot sense you, you are still present, still holding, still guiding. Father, teach me to see silence differently. Perhaps silence is not punishment, but invitation. Perhaps it is not rejection, but preparation. In silence, you may be forming patience within me, shaping trust that does not depend on constant affirmation, building faith that believes even without evidence. The silence becomes a furnace where superficial faith burns away, leaving behind something stronger, purer, more resilient. Help me to yield to that process. Father, to trust that silence has purpose, even when I do not yet understand. I think of the long nights of the psalmist, crying out yet hearing no reply. How long, O Lord, was his song? And yet, woven into his laments was the decision to keep trusting, to keep praising, to keep waiting. Father, let that same perseverance rise in me. Let me be honest about the H of silence, but let me also anchor myself in the memory of your past faithfulness. You have spoken before. You have guided before. You have rescued before. And the God who has been faithful will remain faithful, even in quiet seasons. Father, help me to recognize the subtle ways you may still be speaking in silence. Perhaps through the beauty of creation, through the kindness of a friend, through the whisper of my own conscience, through the still, small impressions that surface when I quiet my rushing thoughts. Let me not overlook these gentle signs, because I expect something louder. Give me eyes to see and ears to hear, even when the voice is faint, even when the message is hidden in ordinary things. Father, I ask that you calm the restlessness that silence awakens in me. Waiting often feels like wasted time, but you remind me that waiting is where strength is renewed. Let me learn to rest instead of striving, to breathe instead of panicking, to believe instead of doubting. Let me remember that silence is often the soil where trust grows deep roots, where resilience is cultivated, where hope matures. Help me lean into the silence instead of running from it, knowing that what feels like emptiness may actually be the womb of new beginnings. I also pray for those who are walking through their own silent seasons right now. Some cry out for healing but hear no answer. Some beg for guidance but see no path. Some ache for comfort but feel no touch. Father, wrap them in assurance that your silence is not abandonment. Let them feel the undercurrent of your presence. Even when it is quiet, let them find courage not in constant signs, but in steadfast faith. Let them rest in the truth that silence does not mean forgotten. Silence does not mean forsaken. Silence does not mean unloved. Father, I picture silence like a night sky. At first it seems empty, but the longer I look, the more stars I begin to notice, faint but steady, scattered but faithful. In the same way, in the silence of my spirit, I may begin to see glimmers of your light, subtle but real, quiet but certain. And those small lights remind me that even in the darkest silence, I am not alone. So today, Father, even as I face the silence, I choose to lean into it with trust. Choose to believe that you are still working, still guiding, still present, even when I cannot hear or see. I choose to let the silence deepen my roots instead of weaken my faith. And I choose to wait, not with despair, but with hope that the one who rebuilds also speaks in his perfect time. Father, after the silence that sometimes feels overwhelming, I discover that one of the greatest ways to endure is through remembering. When my heart trembles in the quiet and doubts rise like waves, memory becomes an anchor. Memory reminds me of who you are, of what you have done, of how you have carried me through places I thought could not survive. Remembering becomes the bridge between silence and hope, between waiting and believing. It is the way I hold on when the present feels uncertain and the future feels unclear. Father, I remember the times when fear threatened to consume me, but your peace steadied me. I remember moments when I felt utterly alone, but somehow knew you were near. I recall prayers whispered in desperation that found unexpected answers, doors that opened when I had given up, strength that came when I was empty. These memories are not just fragments of the past. They are living testimonies of your faithfulness. And as I call them to mind, they become fuel for trust in this very moment. Father, help me to see that remembering is more than nostalgia. It is not about clinging to what once was, but about drawing courage for what is and what will be. Remembering teaches me that if you were faithful then, you will be faithful now. If you provided before, you will provide again. If you guided in past confusion, you will not abandon me in present uncertainty. Remembering reshapes the narrative of my fears, reminding me that every valley was met with grace, and every storm eventually gave way to calm. I think of Israel, commanded to build altars of stone after crossing rivers or winning battles, so that generations would remember what you had done. Father, help me to build my own altars of memory, not with stones, but with gratitude. Let me record in my heart the countless times you have rescued, healed, guided, and restored me. Let me never allow familiarity to dull my wonder at your goodness. Every breath is a gift, every provision a reminder, every answered prayer a testimony. Let these memories rise before me like markers along the path, declaring that I am not forgotten, not forsaken, not without hope. Father, I ask that you sharpen my memory of grace, especially when shadows try to blur it. In moments of disappointment, let me recall times of unexpected joy. In moments of weakness, let me recall seasons of strength that came not from me, but from you. In moments of loss, let me recall the depth of comfort you poured into my grieving heart. Let me become fluent in gratitude, fluent in remembering, fluent in retelling the ways you have shown yourself faithful. Father, I also pray that remembering would extend beyond myself. Let me carry the stories of others who have walked before me, the testimonies of those who clung to faith through suffering, who endured hardship with courage, who found joy even in sorrow. Their stories are gifts, reminding me that the path of faith is not new, that I am not the first to walk in silence, not the first to wait in hope. Let me treasure their voices as echoes of encouragement, proof that the same God who sustained them will sustain me. Let me also be someone who passes these memories on. Father, let me tell the next generation not only of my struggles, but of your deliverance. Let me remind them that life will bring storms, but no storm is stronger than your presence. Let me teach them to build their own altars of gratitude, to write their own testimonies of your faithfulness, so that remembering becomes a rhythm carried forward, not lost in the noise of the world. Father, I see remembering as light breaking through fog. At first the path is unclear, shadows seem thick, but then small shafts of light begin to pierce, showing the way step by step. That is what memory does. It brings clarity where fear clouds vision, hope where despair tries to settle, courage where weakness whispers defeat. Remembering is not passive, it is powerful. It is the act of declaring that what you have done is not forgotten, and that who you are has not changed. So today, Father, I choose to remember. I choose to gather the fragments of the past not as weights, but as testimonies. I choose to lift my eyes from the silence of the moment to the chorus of memories that proclaim your goodness. And as I remember, I find my heart steadied, my faith strengthened, my hope renewed. For the power of remembering is the power of knowing that the God who was with me then is the God who is with me now and will be with me always. Father, as I continue to reflect on the power of remembering, I realize that memory itself is a gift from you. It is more than recollection. It is preservation. Through memory, I carry with me not only moments, but meaning. Through memory, I am able to see your fingerprints on the journey, even in places that once felt forgotten. And so, Father, I linger here a little longer, letting the past speak into the present, letting gratitude echo through the corridors of time, letting hope rise from the testimonies of what you have already done. Father, when I look back, I see seasons I thought would destroy me. I see nights heavy with fear, days overshadowed by grief, moments when despair whispered louder than faith. Yet here I am, still standing, still breathing, still hoping. That is not my doing. That is evidence of your hand sustaining me when I could not sustain myself. Remembering turns wounds into witnesses, scars into stories, struggles into strength. And so I hold those memories not with bitterness, but with reverence, for they remind me that even in pain, you were present. Father, I remember prayers that went unanswered in the way I wanted but were answered in the way I needed. I remember doors that closed painfully, only to redirect me to paths I could not have imagined. I remember disappointments that humbled me, teaching me dependence I would not have learned otherwise. These memories remind me that your wisdom is greater than mine, your timing better than mine, your ways higher than mine. Remembering these truths steadies me when I feel tempted to question your silence or doubt your goodness. Father, memory also teaches me humility. For when I recall the grace I have received, I am reminded that I did not arrive here on my own. Others prayed for me. Others encouraged me. Others carried me when I could not walk alone. Their kindness was an extension of your love. Their faithfulness a reflection of your care. Remembering those who have poured into my life stirs gratitude, not only for them, for the God who used them as instruments of grace. Father, let remembering never become selective. Help me not only to recall victories, but also to honor the valleys. For the valleys were classrooms where resilience was born, where faith was tested and refined, where dependence became my lifeline. Help me to remember fully, not sanitizing the past, but acknowledging it in its fullness, both the beauty and the brokenness, because both reveal the story of redemption. Remembering honestly prevents me from glamorizing or minimizing the past. It anchors me in truth, and truth is what sets me free. I think of how often the scriptures tell us not to forget. Forgetting leads to fear. Forgetting leads to wandering. Forgetting leads to despair. But remembering rekindles trust. Remembering stirs worship. Remembering ignites courage. Father, let remembering become a discipline in my life. Not a fleeting thought, but a practiced rhythm. Let gratitude be my posture, reflection my habit, storytelling my gift. Let me weave remembering into prayer, into conversation, into silence, until it becomes the language of my soul. Father, I pray that my remembering would not stop with me. Let my life be a testimony that inspires others to reflect on their own journeys. Let my words remind weary hearts that their story is still unfolding, that their present pain may one day become their remembered strength. Let me pass down stories of your faithfulness like treasures, so that even generations I may never meet will be encouraged by the echoes of what you have done. Father, I imagine remembering as carrying a lantern in the night. The flame may not banish all darkness, but it lights the next steps. Each memory is like a spark that keeps the flame alive, ensuring that I do not stumble in despair. And as I carry this lantern, I realize that I am never walking blind, for the flame of remembering is fueled by your faithfulness, and that flame cannot be extinguished. So today, Father, I choose to gather my memories like precious stones. I hold them close, not as relics of the past, but as proof of your unchanging love. I walk into this day not with empty hands, but with a heart full of reminders, each one declaring, "You have been faithful. You are faithful. You will be faithful still." And as I remember, my spirit is steadied, my steps are strengthened, and my hope is renewed for whatever lies ahead. Father, as I remember all the ways you have been faithful, I realize that remembering also shines a light on the places where I still hold on too tightly to what has hurt me. Memory has power to heal, but it can also reopen wounds when I cling to pain instead of releasing it. This morning, Father, I bring before you the burdens I have carried for too long, the bitterness tucked away in hidden corners, the disappointments I have replayed too many times, the grief that has weighed heavily on my spirit. I confess that letting go is not easy, yet I know that freedom lies on the other side of release. Father, I feel how easily I rehearse the injuries of the past, words spoken that pierced me, betrayals that shook me, losses that still ache even after time has passed. I replay them as though keeping them alive somehow protects me, yet in truth it only chains me. I know you call me not to deny my pain, but to entrust it to you. You are the only one strong enough to carry the full weight of it, the only one wise enough to bring meaning out of it, the only one compassionate enough to hold it without judgment. Teach me how to loosen my grip, Father, and place these wounds into your hands. Father, I confess that sometimes holding on to pain feels safer than releasing it, because at least it is familiar. Letting go means stepping into the unknown, into trust, into vulnerability, into dependence. But I also know that clinging to pain keeps me from receiving peace. It closes my hands to joy. It hardens my heart to love. It blinds my eyes to beauty. So today, Father, I make the choice to begin releasing, not because I no longer feel the hurt, but because I want to be free enough to live beyond it. I think of how a tree in autumn lets go of its leaves. It does not cling to what has grown brittle. It releases them to the wind so that new life can come in spring. Father, let me learn from the trees. Teach me that letting go is not loss but preparation. It is not the end of life, but the beginning of renewal. What I release creates space for what is new. What I surrender becomes the soil in which new growth can take root. Father, I bring before you those I have struggled to forgive. Their actions cut deeply. Their words linger painfully. Their absence left scars. Forgiveness feels impossible at times. Yet I know that it is not my strength that makes forgiveness possible, but yours. Letting go does not mean pretending it never happened. It means releasing the power it has over me. It means handing over the right to revenge, the demand for repayment, and trusting you with the justice I cannot secure. Father, give me the courage to forgive as I have been forgiven, to let go not because they deserve it, but because I long to be free. Father, I also bring to you the hurts I have caused others. I remember moments when my words were sharp, my actions careless, my silence wounding. These memories ache, not only because of regret, but because they remind me of my own frailty. I ask for your mercy to cover my failures and for your grace to change me so that I do not repeat them. Where possible, give me humility to seek reconciliation. Where it is not, give me peace to entrust the outcome to you. Father, I know that letting go is a process, not a single moment. Some days I will release with ease. Other days I will find myself clutching the pain again. But you are patient with me, steady with me, faithful to keep guiding me toward freedom. I ask for the discipline to keep surrendering daily, to keep loosening my grip whenever pain tempts me to hold on. Each release, no matter how small, is a step toward healing, a step toward wholeness, a step toward the life you long for me to live. Father, I pray also for those I love who carry heavy hurts. Some of them walk with wounds that no one else can see. Grief they feel they must hide. Anger they cannot release. Wrap them in compassion. Surround them with patience and lead them gently toward freedom. Whisper to them that they do not have to hold it all, that they are not weak for releasing it, that they are not alone in their pain. Let them taste the sweetness of peace that comes when the burden is lifted. Father, I imagine letting go as opening my hands to the sky. At first they tremble, uncertain of release, but as the fingers slowly uncurl, the weight begins to lift. What once felt like chains becomes lightness. What once consumed becomes surrendered. And in that act of opening, I am not left empty, I am ready to receive. So here I stand. Father, choosing release, I set down what has haunted me. I lay aside what has bound me. I release what has scarred me. I do this not because the pain no longer matters, because I trust that you matter more. I trust that you are strong enough to hold it all, gentle enough to heal it all, and faithful enough to redeem it all. And as I let go of what hurts, I step forward lighter, freer, and ready to live in the fullness of grace. Father, after choosing to release the weight I have carried, I realize that letting go is not a single act, but a rhythm, a daily practice of surrender. Yesterday's release does not guarantee today's freedom, for pain often creeps back in. Memories resurface, old wounds reopen. And yet, Father, you meet me each morning with new mercy, reminding me that I do not walk this path of release alone. You walk with me, guiding me gently, teaching me to trust, inviting me to lay down again and again what is too heavy for me to bear. Father, I sense that letting go is less about forgetting and more about transforming. The memory of hurt may remain, but it no longer has to dominate. It no longer has to dictate how I see myself, how I see others, or how I see you. Once controlled me can now become a testimony of your healing. The scar may stay, but the sting can fade. The loss may remain real, but the chains of grief can be loosened. In this way, letting go does not erase the past. It reshapes its meaning. Father, I confess that at times I still resist. Part of me clings tightly to the familiar ache, because it feels like protection. To release it feels risky, as if I am vulnerable without it. But you remind me that protection built from pain is not true safety. It is a cage. Freedom lies in trusting you as my shield, not my bitterness. Security is found in your presence, not in rehearsing wrongs. Father, break the illusion that holding on keeps me strong. Show me that real strength is revealed in surrender. Father, I also recognize that letting go includes releasing expectations. Sometimes what hurts most is not only what was done to me, but what never happened, the dream that never came true, the answer that never arrived, the relationship that never healed. These unfulfilled longings weigh as heavily as wounds. I release them too. Father, not because they do not matter, but because I cannot carry them any longer. I place them into your hands, trusting that your plans are higher, your timing wiser, and your love deeper than my limited vision. I think of how water flows in a river. If it is blocked, it pools. becoming stagnant and heavy. But when the obstacle is cleared, the water moves freely, carrying life wherever it goes. Father, that is what my spirit feels like when I let go. The stagnant weight begins to move, and in its place, living water flows again. The current of your spirit refreshes me, renews me, restores me. Let me become like that river unclogged, unhindered, moving forward in freedom. Father, I ask for your help to release not only what hurts me, but also the control I try to keep over outcomes. I hold on because I want resolution in my way, closure in my timing, justice in my form. Yet you remind me that my control is limited and often misguided. True release is trusting you with the outcome, believing that your justice is perfect, your mercy unending, and your wisdom beyond measure. Teach me to let go not only of the pain, but also of the demand to control how it is healed. Father, I bring before you the hidden places of my heart where hurt still lingers quietly, unspoken but present. The disappointments I rarely admit, the fears I mask with strength, the loneliness I bury beneath business. Search me, uncover what I still clutch, and give me courage to release it into your hands. You do not shame me for holding on too long. You simply invite me again to let it go, and each time I do, I discover that your arms are wide enough, your heart tender enough, your strength sufficient enough to hold it all. Father, I pray also for those around me who struggle to release their pain. Some carry anger that corrodes, others carry shame that silences. Still others carry sorrow that drains them. Teach them the same rhythm of release. Let them know that freedom is not out of reach, that healing is not impossible, that joy is not forever lost. Let them feel the lightness of surrender, the relief of unclenched hands, the peace that comes when burdens shift onto your shoulders. Father, I picture letting go as releasing a bird from a cage. At first it hesitates, wings uncertain, but then it lifts, carried by currents it could not find while trapped. That is what happens in my soul when I release pain. What once was bound begins to soar. What once was silenced begins to sing. And I, too, am lifted, lighter, freer, ready to rise into the sky of your mercy. So here I am again, Father, practicing the rhythm of release. Today I open my hands anew. Today I set down what tries to cling. Today I refuse to let pain define me, control me, or confine me. Instead, I let it go, and in doing so I discover once more the wide, open space of your freedom. And in that space, I am not weighed down by what hurts, I am carried forward by what heals. Father, as I continue to let go of what has hurt me, I find myself stepping onto a new path, one that does not appear quickly or dramatically, but gently, almost quietly, the slow path to peace. I used to imagine peace arriving all at once, like a sudden breakthrough, a sweeping calm that would erase all turmoil in a single moment. But I am beginning to see that peace, more often than not, unfolds gradually, step by step, like dawn creeping across the horizon. And though it comes slowly, it is steady, and its depth is richer because it is formed in time rather than in haste. Father, I confess that slowness frustrates me. I long for instant resolution, immediate comfort, swift healing. Yet you remind me that what is built slowly often lasts longer. Just as roots grow deep when they spread gradually, so does peace grow steady when it is cultivated with patience. Teach me to welcome the slowness instead of resisting it. Let me see each small step toward calm as part of the gift, each quiet moment of relief as part of the healing. Father, I feel how peace comes in fragments before it comes in fullness. A moment of laughter in the middle of sorrow, a breath of rest in the middle of chaos, a brief stillness in the middle of noise. These fragments are not insignificant. They are the seeds of peace being planted in my spirit. Remind me that I do not need to wait for the final harvest to be thankful. Even the small beginnings of peace are worth cherishing, for they are signs that you are already at work within me. Father, help me to trust that the slow path is not the wrong path. In a world that values speed, I often measure progress by how quickly it comes. But your ways are different. You are more concerned with depth than with haste, more with endurance than with appearance. You are shaping in me a peace that is not shallow or fleeting but rooted and resilient. Though it may take time, I know it is the kind of peace that cannot be shaken when storms return. I think of a river carving through stone. It does not rush violently, but moves with steady persistence, shaping landscapes over years, creating valleys, nourishing life. That is how your peace works. Father, not in sudden force, but in steady presence. Not in instant change, but in lasting transformation. Let me welcome that kind of peace, even when it feels slow, even when it demands patience, because I trust that it will endure. Father, I pray for the patience to keep walking this path when discouragement tempts me to give up. There will be days when peace feels distant, days when old wounds ache again, days when anxiety whispers louder than trust. In those moments, remind me that the journey is not undone by setbacks. Every step, even the stumbling ones, leads forward when my heart remains turned toward you. Give me courage to keep walking, faith to keep waiting, and gratitude to keep noticing the glimpses of peace along the way. Father, I pray also for those around me who are on their own slow path to peace. Some are healing from loss, some from betrayal, some from years of weariness. Their progress may be hidden, their journey unseen, but you know every step they take. Encourage them when they feel forgotten, strengthen them when they feel weak, and assure them that slowness does not mean failure. Let them taste the sweetness of peace in small moments, and let those moments grow into steady rivers of calm. Father, I see peace not only as the absence of conflict, but as the presence of wholeness. It is not simply quiet circumstances, but a quiet soul. Not merely calm surroundings, but a calm heart. And that kind of peace is worth waiting for. Teach me to value it deeply, to guard it carefully, to cultivate it intentionally. Let it not be something I chase frantically, but something I grow slowly. Like a gardener tending soil, trusting that what is planted will one day bear fruit. Father, I imagine peace as walking barefoot on soft grass after a long road of gravel. My feet still ache from the stones behind me, but with each step forward the ground becomes gentler, softer, kinder. That is what this slow path feels like, relief coming little by little, comfort arriving step by step, until I realize that my soul has been carried into gentleness I could not have reached alone. So today, Father, I choose to walk this slow path with trust. I choose to believe that every step matters, that every small fragment of calm is a sign of your nearness, that every patient waiting is shaping in me something lasting. I choose to believe that peace does not need to arrive instantly to be real, and that the peace which grows slowly is the peace that will endure. And as I walk, I know that you walk with me, steadying my steps, guiding my way, and filling me with the quiet assurance that this path, however slow, will lead me home. Dear Heavenly Father, even as I take slow steps on this quiet path of peace, I recognize something deeper anchoring me beyond each step. Beneath the fragile moments of calm and the fragments of healing, there is something unmoved, unshaken, a presence that holds even when I cannot. That presence is you. Father, you are not just walking beside me. You are the refuge I return to, the stronghold I hide in, the fortress where my soul finds shelter when the winds rise again. There are days when even the small pieces of peace seem to slip through my fingers, when all the ground I thought I had gained feels lost again. In those moments, I remember that I do not stand alone in an open field exposed to the storms. I have walls around me that cannot be broken down by fear or failure. I have a roof over my soul that no grief can collapse. You are my shelter, my protector, my place of safety when I am too weary to keep walking. Father, this refuge you provide is not made of stone or brick, but of faithfulness. It is not built by hands, but by your promises, stacked one upon another like unshakable stones. Each time you showed up when I thought you would not. Each time you carried me through nights I thought would break me. You were laying another stone in the fortress I now rest in. I did not even realize it was being built, but now I see that behind every moment of survival, you were shaping shelter around me. In this fortress, I am not asked to be strong all the time. I am not expected to have answers, solutions, or unshakable faith. You simply ask me to come. You ask me to rest. You ask me to bring my trembling, my confusion, my aching questions, and to let them be held in the safety of your nearness. And the longer I stay here, the more I realize that refuge does not remove the storm outside, but it changes how the storm reaches me. Father, in this safe place, I can finally breathe. I can unclench the fists I have kept tight in self-protection. I can take off the armor I have worn to face the world. I can be fragile and still be protected. That is the miracle of refuge, that I do not need to be invincible to be safe. In your presence, I can be weak without being lost, exposed without being destroyed, seen without being shamed. There is something holy about resting in you without needing to perform. You do not guard the gate to this refuge with conditions or demands. You do not require me to earn entrance. You welcome me before I have figured it all out. And in that welcome, I begin to remember who I am when I am not fighting or fleeing, when I am simply dwelling. simply being, simply breathing in the safety you provide. Father, you are not only the fortress around me, you are also the strength within me. What I find in refuge is not just relief, but renewal. You rebuild what has been torn down. You mend what has unraveled. You restore what grief has hollowed out. And somehow, even as I rest, you are still working, healing me from the inside out in ways I cannot measure, but I can feel. I have spent too many seasons thinking I had to hold everything together alone. Now, in your refuge, I realize that letting go is not weakness, it is worship. Trusting you with my fragility is not surrendering to fear, is surrendering to grace. And grace is what makes this fortress unshakable. Not because I deserve it, but because you are good, and your goodness never changes. Father, for those who feel exposed today, those walking through emotional storms, those standing in the rubble of something that once felt secure, I ask that you draw them near to this refuge. Whisper to them that there is still shelter, still safety, still hope. Let them know they are not forgotten in the open places. Let them find their way to the fortress you have built for all who seek you in truth. May this refuge never become a place of hiding from life, but a sanctuary for living with courage. From within its walls, may I step out with clarity and compassion. May the protection I have found inspire me to extend shelter to others. Let the strength you give me here spill into the world through gentleness, empathy, and mercy. Father, this fortress is not isolated. It is not some far-off tower removed from reality. It is right here, surrounding me even in the middle of my ordinary days. I feel it in quiet prayers before the sun rises. I sense it in silent tears that fall with no words. I carry it with me like an invisible cloak of grace that the world cannot steal. Even when I leave my room, I do not leave your presence. Your refuge moves with me, breathes with me, holds me while I walk into whatever waits beyond my front door. So today, Father, I begin in this strong place. I begin not by proving my strength, but by remembering yours. I begin not with striving, but with resting in what cannot be moved. I begin not with fear of what may come, but with faith in who you are. My heart is not alone. My story is not unprotected. My soul is not without sanctuary. Because you, Father, are my fortress of refuge, steady and silent. Always here. Always holding. Father, as I dwell in the quiet strength of your refuge, something begins to stir, not a rush forward or a need to act, but a gentle invitation to look back. It is not nostalgia or regret that rises, but a sacred kind of remembering. And in that remembering, Father, I begin to see you not only in this present moment, but traced all throughout my past. The memory of your faithfulness becomes a mirror that shows me who I am and who you have always been. There were moments I forgot, times I moved too fast, too wounded, too overwhelmed to carry the weight of reflection. But now, with my soul at rest and my heart sheltered by your nearness, I find the courage to remember. I begin to gather the moments scattered behind me, like breadcrumbs through the wilderness, those flickers of light in the darkness, those quiet rescues, those small mercies that built a road I did not know I was walking. Father, the world often tells me to forget, to move on, to let the past stay buried. But you invite me into remembrance, not as a way of clinging to pain, but as a way of anchoring myself in truth. You remind me that memory can be holy ground. The act of remembering can become a form of worship when it draws me closer to you, and so I remember. I remember the prayers I whispered with shaking hands, the nights I thought I would not survive, the mornings I woke up still breathing. Still held, I remember the faces of kindness that showed up without asking for anything in return, the unexpected provision when I felt abandoned, the peace that passed understanding when understanding had vanished. I remember how you carried me through what I thought would break me. And as I remember, Father, the story of my life becomes less about failure or fear and more about you. You are the thread that holds every frayed edge, the hand behind every rescue, the breath in every weary step. My memory becomes a testimony not to my strength, but to yours. And that testimony gives me courage not just to face what is ahead, but to believe again that nothing I have walked through has been wasted. Even the wounds become part of the remembering, not because they define me, but because they reveal where healing has taken place. Even the silence has meaning now, because in it I learned to listen differently, to trust deeper. You were there in the absence, just as surely as in the miracle. And somehow, remembering even the hard parts becomes a sacred offering, a way of saying, you were here, too. Father, help me to become a keeper of these memories, not out of sentimentality, but out of sacred responsibility. Let me write them down, speak them aloud, share them with others who need to know that their pain is not the end. Let the record of your goodness become a lantern for those still wandering, a shelter for those whose faith is flickering in the wind. Let my remembering light the way for someone else. There is power in memory, not because the past is perfect, but because you were present in it. There is strength in looking back, not to stay, but to gather what I need to go forward. When I forget, I flounder. When I remember, I rise. And it is in that rising that my faith is renewed, not by what I feel in this moment, but by what I have already seen you do. I do not need to conjure up hope from nothing. I have a well of it already dug by years of your mercy. I do not need to imagine what grace might look like. I have tasted it, held it, wept over it, been saved by it. My own life tells the story. And when I begin to forget again, as I surely will bring these memories back to me, Father, whisper them in my sleep, scatter them in songs, press them into the pages of my days. Let me never lose the thread of what you have done. In remembering, I am not chained to the past, I am set free by it. In remembering, I reclaim parts of myself I thought were lost. I gather up the fragments and discover they were not just broken pieces, but pieces of a mosaic you have been forming all along. And when the picture begins to come into view, I see not only sorrow but beauty. I see not only detours but direction. I see not only wounds but wonder. Father, Thank you for the gift of memory, for making it more than a mental exercise, but a spiritual lifeline. Thank you for every trace of your love left in my past, like fingerprints on glass. Thank you for the stories within me that speak louder than fear, that outlast shame, that carry your name in every line. And thank you that even now, you are writing new ones. I want to remember not only the moments you showed up dramatically, but also the ordinary ones where your presence was the background music to my routine, the quiet mornings, the laughter in still rooms, the silence that held more than words ever could. Let nothing be wasted. Let every heartbeat be stitched into the fabric of my faith as I move forward from this moment. Father, let remembering become a practice, a rhythm, a way of keeping my heart awake. When the day grows hard, help me recall what you have already done. When the night falls heavy, let me find strength in what I have seen before. And when I face things I have never faced, let memory be the hand that leads me back to you. For you are not just the God of my present or my future. You are the God of my past. And in remembering, I see that you have been faithful all along. Father, as this quiet journey of morning prayer draws near its close, I find myself pausing not to say goodbye, but to take a deeper breath, to let this final moment linger, to listen closely, not for answers, but for presence. Because even here, even now, I feel you near. And somehow, the stillness has become more than silence. It had become a place where I meet you again and again. You have walked with me through so many mornings, through days when my heart was tender and days when it was tired. You have stood beside me when words came easily and stayed with me when they would not come at all. In every chapter, you were here not only as a listener, but as the one who shaped my thoughts before I even spoke them. Not as a distant idea, but as the steady warmth in every pause, every H, every hope that rose like dew on the grass. Father, you have taught me that prayer is not a performance or a checklist or a duty to fulfill. It is a living conversation, returning home, a practice of remembering who I am in the light of who you are. You have shown me that prayer is not about eloquence or perfection. It is about presence, and presence is something you offer fully, without conditions. There have been mornings where I came carrying joy, and others where I brought only fragments. But you never asked me to pretend. You only asked me to come. And in the coming, something changed. I began to soften. I began to see again. I began to trust that you could hold even the pieces I did not understand, that you could make something whole out of what felt beyond repair. As I look back across the words we have shared, I realize this journey has not been about arriving at some final insight or answer. It has been about becoming awake, about seeing again with new eyes, about remembering what I had forgotten, not just about you, but about myself. And maybe, most of all, about love, because beneath every word spoken, whispered, or left in silence, love was always the thread, love that steadies, love that corrects, love that waits, love that restores what shame tried to steal, love that asks nothing more than my presence. And in that love, I have found something stronger than certainty. I have found peace. Now, as this prayer settles into the quiet space after speaking, I feel the gift of release, not as an ending, but as a deepening. I do not need to hold on tightly to these words, because they have already taken root. They are not something to finish. They are something to return to whenever the world feels loud or I begin to forget who I am again. They are a reminder that the way back to you is always open, always lit by grace. I think of those who have traveled this path with me, who have also risen with tired eyes or anxious hearts, and dared to enter this space anyway. To those who have listened, who have breathed deeply, who have allowed their hearts to open even just a little, I offer gratitude. This journey has never been mine alone. It has been a shared unfolding, a quiet, sacred rhythm that we found together. Thank you, Father, for the gift of those who walked with me in spirit, even if we never met. Thank you for reminding me that I am never alone, that faith is not a solitary act, but a woven tapestry, made from countless threads of trust, surrender, and love. As I step away from this written prayer, I do not step away from you. If anything, I step closer, because now I carry these mornings inside me. I carry the stillness. I carry the remembering. I carry the strength born not from effort, but from simply being held. Father, let this not be the end of anything, but the beginning of a deeper way of living. Let these prayers echo in my days in the way I speak, the way I listen, the way I love. Let them shape the way I rise, the way I rest, the way I return. Let them be more than words. Let them become a posture of heart. When life becomes hurried again, and it surely will, remind me how to come back here. When my hope feels thin or my voice trembles with doubt, remind me that you never moved, that you are the same in the fire as in the quiet, that you wait for me not with judgment, but with gentleness. May this final breath of morning prayer carry with it a promise, not a promise of ease, but of presence. Not a promise that everything will make sense, but that nothing will ever separate me from your love. Not a promise that I will always be strong, but that even when I am weak, you will be near. To every soul who has arrived at this final page with me, thank you for walking this sacred road. Thank you for opening your heart to the unfolding. Thank you for choosing faith over fear, for letting your questions breathe, for allowing these words to meet you where you are. You are seen. You are loved. You are not forgotten. If these prayers have stirred something in you, a memory, a tear, a whisper of peace, I invite you to hold that gently. Let it grow. Let it move you towards something true. And if you feel led, share that journey with others. Your voice might be the very light someone else is waiting to find. You are welcome to share your thoughts, your own prayers, your own unfolding below. This space is yours as much as it is mine, a sacred place of witness and wonder. If this journey has given you something to carry forward, I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe to the channel to continue receiving gentle reminders of grace. Share this prayer if it touched your heart, and return as often as you need. The door is always open. Let your soul rise with the light. Let your breath move with the breeze. Let your heart be carried by the quiet stream that flows without end.